Hello and welcome back to Let's All Laugh At, the football podcast that thrives at someone else's expense. I'm George and I'm joined by Johnny and Andrew once again. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad at all.
Yeah, very excited about tomorrow.
Game for the ages. Definitely hasn't got the feelings of a 0-0 at all. But we'll get into that game shortly. But before we start, I think it's probably important we touch on this. It was reported yesterday that the all-time great Diego Maradona unfortunately, sadly passed away, aged 60 years old. I mean, there's not obviously our thoughts with his family, and just the whole country of Argentina really, because he was such an idol there. I know England fans have issues with him, obviously 1986, the infamous hand of God, but still a brilliant footballer in his own right, and never something never a nice thing to hear about. So I don't know if you guys want to give a quick note or anything, but
yeah, I mean Maradona. I mean, I'm a little bit too young to remember him, but I mean.
Yeah, I think we all are, to be honest.
Yeah. But what a player! Probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest player to ever grace a football pitch. To be honest, I know the hand of God stuff, but I think we've got to get over that a little bit because the first.
Were we ever likely to win that World Cup, anyways? Let's be honest.
And the other goal we scored when he ran it for the whole team. And let's be fair, Peter Shilton, he's a foot taller than Maradona. Should have caught it. So let's be honest. But yeah, it's a sad day for football. One of the greatest. I mean, on YouTube, I love watching him play because just the skill he had was just unbelievable. Great player.
For me, I think obviously everyone concentrates on his Argentina time. I think people forget his time at Napoli because it gets overshadowed. He obviously won the World Cup. The guy literally dragged a team which hadn't won a league for ages to the title single-handedly. And, Napoli named the stadium after him now. So you can show how the guy's just died and people are talking about his sportsmanship, which I just think when someone dies, maybe just talk about the good bits. Everyone does bad things in their life. So, but yeah, like Peter Shilton himself he had to have a dig at him, like even though the guy's just died, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, great football. I mean, people always talk about Pele, Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo now, Zidane. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all that sentiment. Like I said, I'm the youngest on here by far. I'm definitely too young to remember him. But whether or not he's the greatest of all time, it doesn't really matter in my opinion. He's certainly one of the greats, and that's, again, like you said, I think I understand if people had their issue with him. He was a very controversial figure, but I think in depth, there's a time and place to be doing that, and I'm not somebody that likes to mock anyone or wish ill on anyone. So especially after they've died. So yeah, that's just my take on it. But we'll move on to we'll make this is Let's All Laugh At, so we'll make things a bit more lighter, and we'll start off with that Palace Newcastle game that we're so looking forward to tomorrow night. So we'll start with Newcastle Chelsea to preview that. Andrew, you said it was going to be a very flat performance from Newcastle, and it was in the end, really.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky to get 0, to be honest. So negative, very difficult to watch. No Callum Wilson meant we had to watch Joe Linton play, and he is crap. There's nothing else to say about Joe Linton, really. Steve Bruce is just his tactics are very dinosaur, kind of long ball, push up, very like football from 15-20 years ago. No possession. Statistically we have the lowest expected goals in the league, lowest touches in the box.
Don't get me started on expected goals. I can't stand that statistic.
Yeah, because you don't have a very good expected goals.
Because it's absolutely meaningless. It's like here's what you could have won of football. How about you judge the actual goals on the pitch?
No, George, it tells you how many clear-cut chances you make, how much you dominate. It does give you an indication. Teams with low expected goals didn't really deserve anything from the game, so you can tell a lot from it. But anyway.
You can also tell about who's more salty about losing a game in which they had 60% possession in. But regardless, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it tells you how, if you're being creative or creating clear-cut chances, and we're not, we're awful. St. Maxim just looks depressed from the players he's playing with. Our midfield has just gone rubbish. Jeff Hendrick looks like an imposter. Looks like Burnley have sent us this twin at the moment. Just not. I mean, the only player who's playing well is Carl Darlow, which tells you everything. That when your keeper, he's not even that great a keeper, but your keeper is your best player. It's a big sign. And I think Steve Bruce is just He's just so Rafa was so much better. I just can't get over the fact that we let Rafa go for this man. He's a nice man, but he's just not. He's a manager from 20 years ago, or he would be good in the Championship.
Well, I mean, Villa sacked him when they were in the Championship, and then they went on to get promoted after sacking him with Dean Smith. So I'm not even sure about that. But yeah, as for Palace, it was a sort of similar display against Burnley. Not quite as flat. We did create more chances than them in the end and have more possession, and yet we still lost. So our XG meant nothing in the end. But regardless, went down to a silly mistake. I think Kiate, he's been much better than that this season, but I think he was probably tired from the international break, obviously off with Senegal. I think if there's one thing Roy Hodgson got wrong last night, it was probably the team selection. I think that he could have been done with resting a couple of players that have been playing internationals, like RU, like Kiate. But I mean, even the players that hadn't been playing, I thought Riedewald was probably his poorest performance of the season. Nothing like we've seen from him the past few weeks. And Andros Townsend as well, arguably his worst performance in the Palace shirt. He was absolutely awful. But I think he did get treated a little harshly by some of our fans because like he has been good for the rest of the season, bar possibly probably the Chelsea game where everyone really wasn't that great. But I mean, he was awful last night. I can't take anything away from that. I think really Eze was the only player that can hold his head high because it was pretty flat overall. But yeah, I was worried that sort of thing would happen because Burnley are better than their league position suggests, in my opinion. And like I said, they always get a win when they need it. But I don't think it's anything to be worried too much about. I think Newcastle and West Brom is an opportunity to bounce back. But I mean, I hate to say it, but I've been making excuses for the whole few months about how it's we're with Eze now we can do better without Zaha. No, we can't. No, we can't. We are a one-man team through and through, and it's pathetic. It is absolutely pathetic how much we rely on one player, and it drives me nuts. I mean, you wonder why we stick an £80 million price tag on him, because we haven't even tried to move on from him. But it's there you go. He's out because he's due to self-isolate until Saturday. So it's one day after the game, which is bloody convenient. I really don't know. It's a case of who's less bad
involved in the COVID testing field.
Yeah. It's a matter of who's going to be less bad on the day. We had a similar scenario actually we'd lost 3-1 to Everton, and then we played you the last week and played you off the park, to be honest, and won 1-0. Arguably should have been more. So maybe something like similar could happen here, but you just don't know with us. I think a 0-0 draw is probably the most likely.
The COVID testing regulations for the Premier League makes no sense. Mo Salah tests positive 6 days ago, but can play last night against Atlanta. But Zaha test. It's just anyway.
Yeah.
Just seems to be one rule for one team, one rule for another team.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it takes a genius to figure out the connection there. Yeah, but you got a prediction? You got a score prediction for the game, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it'll be 0-0. Yeah, I think I'm not a big fan of Roy Hodgson either. So.
Well, of course you're not. Yeah, but did you know he put Harry Kane on corners?
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure if he did. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure if he knew that.
Yeah, lost to a team with an assistant manager who's a dentist.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm just for that. I'm going to say 1-0 Palace and nick it, and you're going to lose to Roy Ball.
Oh yeah. Well.
All right. Anyways, we'll move on to you, Johnny. So we'll start with Leeds against Arsenal. I mean, what a game that turned out to be in the end. One of the more entertaining 0-0s, I think. But not really from your perspective.
I mean, it wasn't great. Pepe was an idiot for reacting, especially with this day and age of VAR. You're going to get a red card. He's apologised. Let's move on from that. I mean, Alioski, let's not get it twisted. His reaction was pathetic. They went down. It was pathetic, and I hate that. If you actually headbutt, then that's fine. But it was a nothing contact. It was just pathetic, and I was more angry with Alioski, to be honest, because he got him sent off. I know Pepe was an idiot for reacting, but my God, what a pathetic reaction! And I love Kieran Tierney after the game as well, trying to get at him. But Xhaka was a bell end as well for not letting him. But it wasn't a great game. We probably should have lost it, but we're better with 10 men than we're 11. Leeds were good, but 25 shots on goal or 25 shots and no goals. I mean, they're not that great, are they?
This is just my personal opinion on that game. I think Arsenal were getting battered before Pepe got sent off anyway.
Oh yeah.
So I think Arteta's a bit lucky because a lot of people have gone, oh, Pepe's such an idiot. He said when he was on international duty, I want to play, and then he goes and gets sent off. But Arteta's got a bit away with it because people have focused on Pepe rather than how bad Arsenal were, especially in the first half.
No, it wasn't great. No, absolutely. I was watching the game through my fingers some of the time. I was like, oh, here we go. But do you know what? We could have lost. We didn't lose. We had a couple of chances as well. When Saka came on, we had a good chance. Say it was wasn't great, but we didn't lose. If we'd lost the game, I'd have had no complaints. But we had a chance to win the game as well. Aubameyang wasn't great again, but as I say, we didn't lose. And quite frankly, Leeds could have one of their players could have got sent off as well for a bad tackle. But as I say, it wasn't great. But we didn't lose, and we got Wolves on Sunday, which is another easy game.
Yeah, Wolves on Sunday. I gotta be honest, I mean, in terms of Wolves, I found them a little bit underwhelming this season, personally. I mean, Southampton, I thought they were lucky to get a draw out of that. I thought Southampton probably were the better team overall. I mean, they've not been bad by any means. I think they've got the same number of points as us, or slightly above, so they're about the same level as us. But, you know, with all the talk about them getting top four, and, you know, I thought no European football would benefit them a lot, but it hasn't really. So I think now's as good a time as any to play Wolves, really, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we need to bounce back from some bad form recently, really. I say we're at home, it doesn't really make a difference because at home we're not particularly great at the moment either. So I think we'll get the result. I just think with Aubameyang, I think once he gets a couple of goals under his belt, he will start flying. I think it's just that confidence thing and lack of creativity as well, which isn't helping. I know we're linked with Christian Eriksen, which I would love to get him. That would really wind up the Spurs fans.
How the tables turn.
Oh, it'd be fantastic because he's a good player, and he's not doing it for Inter Milan. We can get him on the cheap as well. I'll take him every single day of the week, and just to see the Spurs fans cry, to be honest.
I don't know about that. Most Spurs fans, I mean, I have family that are Spurs fans, and as friends with a Spurs fans, most of the Spurs fans that I've talked to think it quite hilarious that you're suddenly going after a player that you slated all years ago, and want him on a free that Spurs don't even have anymore. But regardless,
yeah, as I say, he's a decent player. I mean, Spurs are getting far too excited for themselves at the moment. You know, if Spurs are still up top of the table with 9 games to go, I'll be a bit more worried. 9 games gone, I ain't worried about them because they ain't going to go nowhere this year, Spurs. I have absolutely no confidence in them whatsoever because they'll bottle it. That's what Spurs do.
Well, we'll move on to that because, you know, with 2 of our teams playing each other, leaves an extra slot free to preview another game. So we'll go for, I think Chelsea Spurs is a very good one to do. Obviously, it's a local, not really a derby, but more of a rivalry sort of thing. I suppose it is technically a London derby, but not like in the North London derby sense. And Spurs, you know, I said if they wanted to be taken seriously, they'd have to get a result against Man City, and they did, to be fair to them, 2-0. It was very much a classic Mourinho performance in a way, you know. Quote-unquote outplayed by Guardiola. I'm sure their XG was so much lower, but I'm sure they'll be crying about that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave XG alone for 1 minute, but it does wind me up. But yeah, I mean, it is another big test for them, Spurs. They've got a number of big games in a row. The biggest of all, Palace in a couple of weeks' time, obviously, going to be one hell of a game for them. But yeah, Chelsea is going to be a tough one because I think they've only won once there in about 20 years. So, and obviously Chelsea are doing very well as well. I think they're second in the table behind Spurs. So top 2 clash. Johnny, I'm sure you're going to be vigorously cheering both sides on.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping Olivier Giroud scores another goal. So I'm hoping he's on fire at the moment, Giroud. So if he scores, I'll be happy. I'm joking about Spurs. Spurs are a good side, and they played well against City. Don't get me wrong. They got a little bit lucky with Man City's goal, which was disallowed. I mean, that's the 3rd goal now Man City have had disallowed against Spurs over the past couple of years. It's good. It should be a cracking game actually. Spurs Chelsea. Chelsea are playing very well. They got a little bit lucky last night. Chelsea against Rennes. It wasn't great to be honest. But yeah, it should be a cracking game. It's a derby. Well, derby without the fans, but yeah, it's still be a bit of a spicy affair. I think. I think Chelsea might get the result here. I'm saying that with more hope in my voice than anything else. Because I can't handle Spurs keep winning because it's depressing, especially if we lose on Sunday. It won't be good. But yeah, I'm going for Chelsea. I'm going for 2-1 Chelsea, I think.
Okay. Andrew, what about you?
I think Chelsea are in really good form. I think the keeper Mendy has made such a difference. Thiago Silva has really solidified them. I think they're a big threat. I think Hakim Ziyech deserves a bit more praise than he's getting because he's quality. But Spurs with Kane and Son are on fire at the moment. You know, they've beaten Man U away, they've beaten City at home. They really deserve, I think, quite a lot of credit. And people forget Mourinho's 2nd season tends to be his best season. So it will be interesting to see how Spurs get on against Chelsea. Obviously, Lampard versus Mourinho is kind of, you know, Mourinho said Lampard was one of the best players he's ever managed. So it will be interesting. I think Mourinho as well deserves credit because his signings of Reguilon and Doherty and the way he set up the team with Højbjerg, Holding and everything, they are doing really well. So I don't think Spurs will win the league, but they'll definitely be pushing top 3 maybe.
Yeah, who do you think will win the league then? Do you think it'll be Chelsea?
No, I still think Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think
Liverpool.
if Fabinho got injured, I would be concerned. But for me, if even Fabinho and Matip is still a quality defence, so
Yeah.
and I have a feeling that they will go and get a centre half in January anyway.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they will go and get a centre back in January, and nobody expected Diego Maradona to be on fire like he is.
Oh yeah, he's totally blown up.
And you got to also remember, Thiago hasn't even played that much yet.
Yeah.
He's on the World Player of the Year list, so
That's a frightening prospect if ever I saw it. Yeah.
So I probably fancy Liverpool, but I think Chelsea and Spurs will be second, third probably.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll move on. So we'll move on to our game of the week segment. This is the first time we've done one in a little bit because we haven't really had the time before. But this is where we each pick a game from the Premier League or anywhere at all that we don't normally get to talk about that we can have a chance to bring up. So we'll start with you, Johnny. Have you got anything you want to highlight?
I mean, it wasn't a particularly great game, but it was Man United 1, West Brom 0. So I thought United would win quite comfortably, to be honest, and they didn't get their own way. I mean, it was again good old VAR with the penalties, and I felt so sorry for the goalkeeper West Brom because he saves the ball, and I know he comes off his line, but I think it's just a personal opinion. I think if the goalkeeper can't come off his line, then I don't think the striker or the person taking a penalty should be allowed to jump and stop and stuff like that. Because I just think it's a great save. He's got to retake it. I don't like that rule. I don't like it. I just think it's a great save, and it's instinct for the keeper to come out, and it's just I don't like the rule. Don't like it.
Yeah, no, I mean, another chapter in the VAR textbook. I mean, I thought West Brom were very unlucky not to get something out of that game, and I think they really were robbed once again. Well, I say they were robbed again. It was a team had been robbed in favour of United once again in terms of decisions. So, I mean, Andrew, what did you make of the whole thing?
I think Man U, grinded out the result. Obviously VAR is just a consistent inconsistency.
Yeah.
Very, it's a shocking, the system, to be honest, how bad it is at the moment, and how many decisions people are getting wrong. The game I would go for is Inter Real Madrid last night, and Arturo Vidal getting sent off, getting 2 yellow cards in the space of like 90 seconds or something ridiculous like that. When you consider seasoned pro, won the Champions League, he's a veteran and he's still making like such a schoolboy error. And the other thing is Antonio. I don't know if you know, Antonio Conte's record in the Champions League is atrocious for someone who's won the league numerous times in Italy, won the league with Chelsea. It is a really bad, really bad record. So and I think Inter are going out, considering they've spent quite a bit on their team. Yeah, I would go for that game. And Eden Hazard scored, so
yeah, that is an absolute shock. I'll tell you, we've been to Milan though. I mean, I didn't watch the game, but I was like listening to it, and they're not a great side, are they? And you compare them to someone like Atalanta, who was. I mean, they were superb last night.
Even in their own group, Mönchengladbach are top of the league. Like, you wouldn't expect that going into that group. Madrid, Shakhtar, and Inter Milan.
No, absolutely. And, Inter Milan, they're the Premier League rejects, aren't they? I mean,
basically.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I'll say that. They're Man United rejects, kind of what they are. But, yeah, they're kind of poor, Inter Milan. Compare them to Atalanta, who were brilliant last night against Liverpool.
Atlanta did lose 5-0 at home to Liverpool.
They did. I given their due last night. I watched the game and they were unbelievable last night. They were so Gomez. What a player he is. Good player.
I think they're like the hipster choice in Italy to support.
100%. They're my second favourite team in world football besides Palace. I think they're great.
Yeah, no, good side. And I know Liverpool got a lot of injuries, but Liverpool they were poor last night, and they were really poor.
They changed a lot of players, didn't they?
They did, and a lot of Liverpool fans on TalkSport and stuff. They were proper slating Klopp last night. So just play your strongest team, go 2-0 up, 3-0 up, then bring players off, and he kind of rested them. And
I think he's concerned about injury. What was it? They went 1-0 up, and then they brought on about 4 or 5 subs all at once, or something like that, or in like very very close together. It's like it's an obvious advantage.
Yeah, but yeah,
I
no,
find it hilarious when fans criticise someone who's won the league and won the Champions League in the last 2 seasons. Like, surely you would just say, okay, it's his decision and everything. He should be kind of above criticism at the
I
moment.
don't
But
know
you
about
see,
that. I feel
fans
like
are
I get what you mean. Like you can't go into on in too hard, but at the same time, if he makes a mistake, like and I think he did there. I think he didn't take the game. I understand why he did it because he wants it's injuries. They've already got so many injuries. He wants to keep his squad fit, but at the same time, like it wasn't a great. That was what cost them the game for sure.
I'm not sure. I mean, if Newcastle had a manager who won the league and the Champions League, I'd just be quiet and just say, yeah, what he can, like, if he makes a mistake, it happens. I wouldn't criticise him.
Didn't your club sack Bobby Robson?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't your decision to be fair, so I'll leave it at that. But we'll move on to my game and another one of Johnny's favourite teams because we're bringing them all up lately. Stoke City on the weekend 4-3 against Huddersfield Town. I'd remind you the corresponding fixture finished. I think it was either 4-3 or 5-3 the previous season. So it's a great one for games. Tyrese Campbell is the young star for them. Unfortunately the third goal he got was ruled as an own goal in the end, but got 2 goals in the end. Something like I think only him and Harry Kane have more than 5 goals and 5 assists of English strikers in the whole of the country. Like they're the only 2 English strikers to have at least 5 goals and 5 assists in the whole league, which is nuts. I know, I just thought it was a really entertaining game. And also as well, as sort of an honourable mention, the Norwich game, their game against Norwich midweek, ended 3-2 to Norwich, who were top of the championship. 3-0 down with half an hour to go, pulled it back to 3-2 and then had a last-minute equaliser, disallowed at the very end. So Stoke, I mean, known for anti-football Stoke in the Premier League, they're having some very good games so far.
they are indeed. Let's just hope they stay in the Championship. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know, Michael O'Neill. I love Michael O'Neill's manager. I think he's top quality, and I think they've got every chance of getting out of the league with him in charge. They're only 3 points off of Norwich at top spot, and they're 7th. So it's a really tight league this year.
That's a great league.
Norwich and West Brom just swap positions every year. It's so pointless.
Pretty much,
Fulham,
yeah.
Fulham as well. Like, why are they in the Premier League? Like, they're not even trying.
God, they were dreadful the other day. Oh, it was such a battle. It was so. I mean, to go 1-0 down within the first 40 seconds, it was just awful. I hate to be a Fulham fan. Must be a nightmare.
Well, I often see Palace fans talking about like, oh, how I don't care where we finish in the league, just play better football. And it's like, well, there's your team. Go and support Fulham then, because that's exactly what they do. They play some brilliant stuff, and they get relegated every year. So there you go.
They don't play brilliant stuff though.
It's better than what we play though. Well, I say that we're playing better this year, but
yeah, I don't understand these teams that get promoted and then don't try to stay in the league. I just think like you've got promoted and you go straight back. Like Norwich last year, I think they spent something like $1 million or something, very small amount, hardly bought anyone. If you've got into the Premier League, you may as well have a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was more the mentality around the club as well that they were lucky to be there, and that's why they sort of stopped trying at the end. I mean, in terms of the signings, I respect it in a way because they want to stick to a structure that's worked for them. But at the same time, in the Premier League, it's very, very difficult to do that. So we'll see if they come. I mean, there's a good chance they'll come back up. We'll see if they've learned from any of their mistakes. But given from history, I think they've been relegated more times to the Premier League than anyone else. Finally breaking our record that we held for so many years. Thank God. But yeah. So yeah, we'll move on to the breaking news coming out of today. The fans in stadiums, the tier system, the COVID tier system, it's been unveiled. Ironically, I'm currently in one of the only 3 places in the whole country that's in tier 1, and that's Cornwall. The other 2 being the Isle of Man and the Isle of Sicily. So Isle of Wight, sorry, not Isle of Man. You know Isle of Wight, you know which one I'm talking about, the 2 islands that are in tier 1. So we're literally as isolated as an island, which is hilarious. But yeah, that means that basically it's cut halfway down the middle. Where half the teams are in tier 2 areas, so they can have up to 2,000 fans in the stadium, and half of them aren't, so they can't have any. Myself and Johnny, Palace and Arsenal, are in tier 2 areas, so we can have fans in, but Newcastle and Andrew aren't. I mean, not that any of us would likely get tickets for the games anyways. But yeah, we'll start with you, Andrew. What do you make of the whole situation?
I find it funny that we go on. I don't really want to talk about COVID politics, but we can go from a national lockdown to 2,000 people being in a stadium. People weren't allowed to have weddings of more than 30 people, but now we're allowed X number of people in a stadium. It's just the government's management of COVID is just ridiculous. I don't get it.
Don't get me started.
I just can't.
Honestly.
I do not understand it. Just to say about the tier system, it is very convenient that a lot of the Tory areas are hotspots are tier 2 and 3. I'm just, maybe it's the cynic in me. And then just another point, I'm going to just say this anyway. So we're guided by the science, but then Christmas, it doesn't matter about science. I understand why, they want to do that, but you have to be like, why do we not copy the countries like Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, these countries that have done so well with COVID? I just don't understand, Boris.
Oh, honestly, well, that's for Christmas, because for them 5 days, COVID's being furloughed for 5 days. I try not to talk about politics so much, but it is. I mean, I work in a bookmakers, right? So I can't. It's my birthday next week, right? Next Saturday. My mum can't come over and see me, right? Give me my presents, right? Can't come in my house, have a cup of tea, but she can come in the bookmakers I work and come and see me for hours. But it's as you will. It's absolutely ridiculous, and 2,000 people is great because fans, clubs will get some money out of it, which is brilliant because they need it. But it's just I'm sick and tired of the word COVID. I'm sick and tired of the words now.
I think for lower league clubs, this 2,000 thing is good. It could be good for them because obviously they've had zero income. Clubs in like League 2, Panorama, National, whatever. But for the Premier League clubs, it's pointless. 2,000 people in the Emirates. What is the point?
Well, in a stadium like the Emirates as well, like there's no reason they couldn't get like 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people and just spread them out. Like it's a massive. For somewhere like Palace, it's tiny. It's going to be hard to spread us all out. But for like Arsenal and Spurs especially.
Yeah, it's quite funny though. They're saying like no singing, no shouting. Well, that's fine for the Emirates. We don't. It's very quiet anyway.
You said it, not me.
It'll make no difference actually. Yeah, but no, it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. It'd be great to have fans back in the stadium, but. I think 2,000. I mean, with the lower leagues, you can get 2,000 in a 9,000 seat stadium. So why can't you have 10,000 in a 50,000? I mean, I don't. These stadiums are big enough where the seats are big enough as well. I give up. I give up, Bill. I really do.
It's just very. I don't want to talk about COVID politics. It
sort of does make you wonder, like, if you're not going to be allowed to sing or do anything this off, it almost makes you wonder what's the point in going back, like, because you really think people are going to stick to that? People are going to be singing the whole game. They're going to be so happy to be back. Like, what are they going to do? Kick them out?
Yeah. So exactly. Yeah. I mean, so can you stop singing? I mean, come on. I mean,
only in England.
I think at the Emirates they might do that if you stand up. They don't like that very much. The stewards at the Emirates, they tell you to sit down. Even if you just get up to the toilet, they don't like it. You're like, mate, I'm going for a wee. Leave me alone. But yeah, give up, Bill. Give up.
But pubs and restaurants are okay to be open, which is much more enclosed spaces. Just doesn't.
Only with a substantial meal though, Andrew. Right?
Yeah, I know.
That's of your pint. You're fine. Because COVID knows when you're eating. All right, you're fine.
It can also tell the difference between a pub and a house, apparently.
It can. It's such a clever virus, mate. I tell you.
Oh my god.
I wish Andros Townsend was as good at navigating the football pitch as COVID wasn't navigating people's homes. I swear to God.
My favourite thing was the 10 p.m. curfew. I went out in London during that period where they did the 10 p.m. curfew, and literally everybody was getting the tube home at that time, which surely is the worst thing for COVID.
Yeah.
Thing is, we all laugh about it because it's quite funny, but at the same time, these people making decisions, they're elected people, and like what, just like, and they're following the science stuff. It's just
they're not following. The thing is, they're not following the science because the scientists have told the government that the government are responsible for the decision. So whilst Chris Whitty is saying these things and everything, it is Boris and Rishi Sunak who made the decisions. The eat out to help out thing was the government's decision. It wasn't the scientist's decision. And I think this is just my personal opinion. The eat out to help out scheme was one of the biggest factors for COVID second wave starting. And then again, schools reopening started the second wave as well. I am a doctor, so I'm fed up of COVID.
Yeah. Welcome to the Let's All Laugh At political podcast.
The COVID podcast. Do you know that everything is COVID? It's so annoying. Even the TV show I watch, Grey's Anatomy, has COVID as a storyline now. You can't get away from it.
We're going to be talking about it for the next 100 years, you realise? Like, it's never going to go away.
Oh, no, don't say that.
No, they all found out next week. I was out for a curry. I was going to watch Arsenal Spurs next Saturday night. Have a good, few friends. Well, that's all gone down the crapper. So now probably have a pot noodle and watch Arsenal on a stream or something. Great, innit? Never mind. We'll win it together.
Yeah, plenty of let's all laugh at material at the very least. So speaking of which, we will move on to the let's all laugh at. So yeah, Johnny, you can start us off.
Do you know what? It's been difficult this week. I'm not actually to be fair. I could kind of laugh at the not the Arsenal fans that were being racially abusive to Pepe on Sunday evening, which is disgraceful. But the meltdown of the Arsenal fans when we're not in great form and they're calling out Arteta, and honestly, these people, I'll tell you what, there's all these people on Twitter, they should be managers, I think, because they know everything. Honestly,
God, could you imagine the state of every single football club in the country if their fans were Twitter fans were managing them?
I know it's not great at the moment, it's not, but some of the comments of some of the Arsenal fans, you're like, are you even an Arsenal fan? And a lot of it is to do with our mate Andrew Mesut Ozil. He's not playing. It makes me laugh on the Arsenal official Facebook thing saying, you know, if Ozil doesn't play soon, I'm gonna start supporting Spurs. It's like, okay, then bye. You know, it's comical, some of it. And like, these people are actually being serious as well. It's just, so it's not really let's all laugh at, because I haven't got much this week, but it was the Arsenal meltdown from Sunday with some of the fans. It's quite amusing, but incredibly frustrating.
I think as well, this is just my own personal opinion, media outlets pick the people with the most radical views. So for instance,
100%.
I've been playing the same video of the guy who goes, I want Arteta out, I want Wenger back in. Like, obviously that's a ridiculous view. No sane Arsenal fan wants that. But, you know, that was one guy's view. So they do tend to pick, you know, some of the most ridiculous views. Like, again, I think they had a guy who was saying, I think Klopp's been too cocky this year, and we should think if he doesn't do well this year, we should think about letting him go. Like, again, they're picking the most extreme views, but to be honest, Arsenal's fan base is a bit polarising.
Speaking of the Arsenal fan base, you might not know. You might know him. Heavy D passed away yesterday as well.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about mentioning that, but I wasn't sure.
I've friends with Heavy D at Arsenal games. He's a bit of a loud character. But I've only met a couple of times. He was a really nice fella. And proper nice fella. It's a sad
only
day.
43, isn't he? Very young.
Yeah, very sad. I met him a couple of times. Really nice fella. Proper loud. He's exactly the same as he was on TV. He's loudmouth. But yeah, proper Arsenal fan. And it's a sad day, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, apologies for not bringing that up at the start along with Maradona. I just wasn't sure if it was something we particularly as an Arsenal fan, I wasn't sure if it was something you wanted brought up.
No, we weren't friends with him or anything like that. It was just he was a proper Arsenal fan. But
No, yeah, absolutely. No, I totally echo that. And of course, all our thoughts go out to his family and all that. And I think that, you know, again, like you said, 43 or whatever age he was is far too young for anyone. And whatever the cause was, I'm not sure if it was determined. There were talks going around it might have been mental health related, which if it was, then, you know, that's can only stress more about how important it is to look after yourself and seek the help that you need and everything like that. I mean, I don't want us to turn preachy. I don't want to make it seem like we're leeching off anything like that. Just trying to make sure we take the situation seriously because, yeah, no, it is something. You're right. It's something that, you know, if we can any positive thing that we can do towards it, I want to try and do, and I'm sure you guys can agree with that. But yeah, I'm trying to Andrew to follow up on that. Have you got anything to lift our mood slightly?
Yeah, I mean, mine was. I mean, I just found it funny when I found out William Saliba's wages. He's on 90 grand a week.
Bloody hell!
I just when I read that, he's like. They're saying that they're going to loan him out to the Championship as well. I mean, Joe Linton's on 100 grand a week, so as well, that's awful as well. But I can like some of the salaries these players get when they've not done very much is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, with about 90 grand a week isn't actually that high a wage for Arsenal standards, but like again, for someone who barely plays as much as he does, like to talk out to loan out to the Championship.
Isn't Max Meyer on like 120 grand a week?
No, it's lower than that. It was never that much. It's more like 80 grand a week. But yeah, that's still far too much if you ask me.
There was a spell where John Joe Shelby was earning more than Neymar.
Bloody hell.
which is just in the championship as well.
Yeah. Speaking of Arsenal, by the way, they're 2-0 up. I don't know if you've seen, Johnny. 2-0 up against Mould. Reece Nelson got the second. I'm not sure who got the first. Pepe with the first.
Pepe. Did he headbutt someone?
Imagine if it was a header. That'd be great. Yeah, we're not watching the game.
I'm not watching
Johnny
it.
Johnny doesn't even have BT, so he can't watch it. But
maybe it's a new thing. I won't watch this anymore. I'm going to start winning. No.
Yeah, so a couple of things, Johnny. First of all, on Saliba, because I'm sure or Saliba, however you pronounce it. I think it's Saliba. But, yeah, thoughts on that. And also, quick mention on Ozil watch since we brought him up, and we're talking about players' wages, so it's kind of inevitable.
Yeah, William Saliba, I don't really know the ins and outs of it all. I know that Arsenal were trying to protect him a little bit, because I think he lost his mum earlier this year, I think. So I think they're trying to look after him as a youngster. I don't know why he's not playing, what's really happening. I've read a story today that he's thinking about actually ripping up his contract and leaving. It's a very strange one. I'm not sure how true that is. It's a very strange one. We spent a lot of money, £27 million from St Etienne, however much it was. So it's if he does leave, it's a massive face palm from the people who bought him. It's a strange one. I don't understand it. And as for me, my mate Mesut Ozil, I haven't spoken to him this week, so I don't know where he is. Probably in Tier 1, having a good time probably.
He'll be one of the 2,000s at the game. He'll be in the crowd.
Oh, of course he will. Oh, don't, George. Don't wind me up. He'll be there, won't he? Feet up. Oh, of course he will.
The problem as well, when you're this inactive for so long, is if you don't play for a year or so, you lose so much sharpness, especially over the age of 30. And I just cannot see him after this year doing anything really.
No.
I mean, we say 90 grand for Saliba. It's 350 grand for someone who doesn't do anything.
Yeah. On the flip side, we're paying Cole Jenkinson 50 grand a week at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, Cole Jenkinson, the person who won an Arsenal contract in the cereal box, I think.
But he was an Arsenal fan growing up.
I love Cole Jenkinson. He wasn't the greatest player in the world, but you know what? He put effort in, and sometimes that's what you want as a fan. I mean. There's been a lot of Arsenal players over the years that haven't been great, but they've been Arsenal legends as such because they put the effort in. Players like Jenkinson's or Emmanuel Aboué, he wasn't particularly fantastic, but always put his effort in, and fans appreciate that when you put effort in.
Didn't you guys boo him off the pitch when he came on?
Yeah, well that was yeah, we did.
Joking.
I was there that day, and it was there was boos that day. I mean, there's loads of them, but it was a bit of a. It wasn't a deafening boo. There was a few jeers, but then again, it's one of them. But I love the boo. He scored some important goals as well. But yeah, love the boo. What a player!
All right, let's calm down. He's not that great.
He wasn't that good. I love the boo. He was a decent player. He was.
Yeah, we can't let Johnny have nice things on this show, apparently. Well, don't worry. My Let's All Laugh At isn't Arsenal related, believe it or not.
Right.
Yeah. Although, before I get my nomination, I do want to give a nomination to Reading in the Championship. I don't know if you saw that game. They started out top of the league. They won like 6 of their first 7 games or something like that. They've lost their last 4 in a row, and their most recent is 4-2 against Bournemouth. 2-0 up at half-time, absolutely cruising. And then went on to lose 4-2, conceded 4 second-half goals. I believe the technical term is shit the bed. I think that's how you say it. But yeah, I mean, Reading are one of the few games that I'm actually within reasonable distance of, especially when I lived in Bristol. So it would have been an easy away day for me to get to. I mean, when they played Huddersfield in the playoff final, I was rooting for them to come out just so I could go and see them. But they didn't in the end, and it doesn't look like they're going to anytime soon. But in terms of my nomination, we mentioned him already, but Peter Shilton. I don't know if you've seen. There's been a lot of talk about him with the whole Maradona incident, of course, and there's a lot of things brought up. But my favourite thing, if I get it up quickly, that we talked about was when I don't know if you saw this. He was on ITV TV in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever it was, and he was on with Gaza, and they was telling him, and he basically said that he was talking about how they were talking about the Maradona goals, of course, and Gaza was joking about how that goal was what gave him a career in the first place, and the look on his face when he makes that, as everyone else is laughing at him. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous because, I mean, that's what makes him so unlikable for me, is that he can't laugh at himself, and he's just so stuck up with himself. Like, as a great player, or a great goalkeeper, no doubt about that. Yeah, but I can't stand his attitude at all. And like, there's this great shot of everyone laughing except for him. He's got the most stonewall expression on his face. Like, I can't help but laugh at that.
Yeah, man. Paul Gaza as well. Love Gaza. What a player he was.
Yeah, no. I mean, surprised you're saying that as an ex-Spurs, but yeah.
To be fair, George, Gaza is probably my favourite ever non-Arsenal player.
Really?
Yeah, for me, my favourite non-Arsenal player ever. Just different class. If it wasn't for injuries and other stuff, his health issues and things, for me, he'd be up there with one of the best we've ever seen in this country. I think he had everything. He was just world class. The word world class does get bounded about an awful lot, but Paul Gascoigne was the epitome of world class in my opinion. Just a personal opinion, but just different class.
Yeah, I won't comment, otherwise Andrew will start yelling at me about how young I am.
I've got another nomination, Derby County.
Oh, Wayne Rooney, yeah.
No, the thing I don't get is they've got 4 joint managers at the moment as caretakers. Why not just pick one guy? I just don't get it. It's like Wayne Rooney, Liam Rossini, Shay Given, and someone else. And then not only that, they've obviously been bought. And I was like, oh, they've been bought. These owners will have a great idea. First thing they do, Steve McLaren on the board as a technical advisor. Just of all the people they could get as a technical advisor, why they'd go with Steve McLaren? Oh, just
with Rafa Benitez as manager.
Yeah.
A bit like what's his face, isn't it? Alan Pardew going to Sofia.
Oh
yeah, that's I totally forgot about that.
Is that
Yeah, I mean, how desperate would you have to be to employ Alan Pardew as technical director? I mean, me and Andrew don't need to wax lyrical about him anymore, but his signings were hardly. He's the one who decided to spend £32 million on Benteke. Like, why the hell do you want him making your signings?
I mean, and it seems like Pardew, like he could be really bad at his job, and he seems to get a job everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they say he's experienced. Experienced failure is still experience.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think. This is the thing. People say, oh, he's got lots of experience, but if you've, taken clubs down, that's not good experiences. But then you have some managers who get one chance and then they're out and they never manage again. But Pardew just keeps getting.
That's another thing I can add to the Let's All Laugh at. Palace fans want Alan Pardew instead of Roy Hodgson because he plays better football, quote unquote. First of all, no, he doesn't. Second of all, this is today, as we're recording this, is the anniversary of the 5-4 to Swansea, which I was there for. I remember every moment of that game. I never want to experience anything like it again. So kindly, with all due respect, please fuck off Alan Pardew.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, Alan Pardew. It's I'm pretty sure his contract still going at Newcastle. 8-year contract. Is it finished?
It's finished this year. I think.
Is it? Oh, what?
It doesn't matter. Crystal Palace gave us $3 million in compensation.
That's a good point. We basically paid his wages all that time. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. And we're still paying Wayne Hennessy as well. He's still on his seventh year of his contract. Which, my God.
It is also with Derby, all these Dutch managers, like Philip Cocken, great player, proper decent player, not very good manager. Obviously, your mate De Boer, George, fantastic player, can't manage. And I think you do is just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're gonna be a great manager. And there's
Mikel Arteta.
Well, I say this about Mikel Arteta, yeah. I mean, he was really good at Everton. He wasn't that good for Arsenal. He wasn't that great a player.
Don't get me wrong. We do it out for Arteta. Don't get me wrong. There are some players that have been great managers. Or will be. I mean, Guardiola. He's a top, world class player. And he's a great manager. It can work. It very rarely does it happen, though. To be fair, but yeah, it's Derby a mess, and having Wayne Rooney as your manager, not manager, 4 of them, it is bizarre. It is a very bizarre lineup.
Yeah, speaking of Dutch managers and great players as well, we talked about Reading, Jaap Stam as well when he was at Reading. He nearly got promoted with them, but that same season nearly got promoted and got to the playoff final. They lost 7-1 to Norwich. I mean, I think they finished that season with a negative goal difference because of that scoreline. Like, when has a team ever finished third in the Championship with a negative goal difference? Like,
who conceded 7 against Norwich as well? That's the more important thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would have if they'd gone up that season, they would have had a serious chance of breaking Derby County's record because my God, they were terrible in the Championship that season. I don't know how they nearly went up, but yeah. Okay, yep, so that's about all the time we've got for. So thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to drop us a like and a follow, whatever platform you're on. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify at Let's All Laugh At, a football podcast, as well as Twitter at LALA_podcast. Be sure to check out Johnny's work at Life's a Pitch. Check out all of our social media, links in the description as always. Thanks to Johnny and Andrew for joining me. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.